The Clone Rebellion on Kamino, a significant event in the Star Wars mythos, was a culmination of escalating tensions, political maneuvering, and the inherent instability of a system built on the exploitation of cloned soldiers. While the specifics of this rebellion have often been interpreted differently in various adaptations, its origins can be traced to the very nature of cloning and the manipulation of the clones by outside forces. The roots of the Clone Rebellion lie in the creation of the Grand Army of the Republic on Kamino. When the Republic secretly commissioned the production of a vast army in anticipation of galactic unrest, the Kaminoans engineered the clones with loyalty, obedience, and martial prowess in mind. Under the genetic blueprint of the bounty hunter Jango Fett, the clones were designed to be subservient to the command structure of the Republic and their Jedi generals. However, this genetic conditioning had limits. While the clones were bred for loyalty, they were also sentient beings capable of independent thought and emotions, a factor the Kaminoans themselves often overlooked in favor of efficiency. The execution of Order 66, the command to eliminate the Jedi, marked a critical turning point for the clones. Although they followed the directive due to embedded behavioral modifications, the aftermath left many clones grappling with the morality of their actions. The dissolution of the Republic and the rise of the Galactic Empire exacerbated their plight. Once revered as heroes, the clones were gradually decommissioned and replaced by conscripted stormtroopers, a decision driven by both financial expediency and the Empire's desire to phase out any remnants of the Republic. The clones, whose entire lives had revolved around service, now faced obsolescence and betrayal. The Kaminoans themselves played a pivotal role in the rebellion. As their relationship with the Empire grew increasingly strained, they began to resist the Empire's control over their cloning facilities. The Kaminoans viewed the Empire's transition to conscription as an existential threat to their society, which was heavily reliant on the cloning industry. In secret, they began creating a new generation of clones designed to rebel against Imperial forces and reclaim Kamino's autonomy. These new clones, free from the behavioral conditioning that bound the original clone troopers, were instilled with the Kaminoans' vision of resistance. The rebellion erupted when the Empire discovered Kamino's clandestine activities. Imperial forces, led by officers such as Admiral Rampart, launched a swift military campaign to suppress the uprising. However, the clones stationed on Kamino, both the original troopers and the new generation, had already begun to mobilize. The battle that ensued was one of the most intense conflicts in the early years of the Empire. Clone troopers, equipped with advanced training and an intimate knowledge of Kamino's facilities, waged a fierce fight against the Imperial invasion. What made the rebellion particularly poignant was the internal division among the clones themselves. While some clones, still loyal to the Empire due to their conditioning or personal convictions, fought against the rebellion, others sided with their Kaminoan creators. These conflicts highlighted the moral and ethical complexities of the clones' existence. On one side were those who believed they owed their allegiance to the Empire, regardless of its flaws, and on the other were those who saw the rebellion as an opportunity to assert their independence and reject a system that had used them as disposable tools. The confrontation reached its climax in Tipoca City, Kamino's capital and the heart of its cloning operations. The city's distinctive architecture, with platforms suspended above Kamino's stormy seas, provided a dramatic backdrop for the battle. Imperial forces deployed AT-ATs, TIE fighters, and elite stormtroopers, while the rebel clones utilized their intimate knowledge of the city's infrastructure to mount a determined resistance. The Kaminoans themselves attempted to use their cloning facilities as a last resort, activating newly created combat clones in a desperate bid to turn the tide. Despite their efforts, the rebellion ultimately failed. The Empire's overwhelming firepower and the tactical acumen of its officers proved insurmountable. Tipoca City was heavily damaged, and much of Kamino's cloning infrastructure was destroyed. The Empire's victory was decisive, but it came at a cost. The battle demonstrated the clones' capacity for resistance and their enduring loyalty to the ideals of the Republic, even in the face of betrayal. The aftermath of the rebellion was grim for Kamino and its people. The Empire imposed harsh sanctions, and the Kaminoan cloning industry was effectively dismantled. The remaining clones were either forcibly retired, absorbed into the Imperial military in diminished roles, or eliminated. Kamino itself, once a hub of advanced technology and innovation, was reduced to a shadow of its former glory. For the clones who had rebelled, their defeat marked the end of their struggle for independence, but their actions left a lasting legacy. The clone rebellion on Kamino was a tragic yet inevitable outcome of the clones' exploitation. It underscored the moral ambiguity of creating an army of sentient beings for a single purpose and then discarding them when they were no longer convenient. The rebellion also highlighted the resilience of the clones, who, despite their conditioning, demonstrated a capacity for defiance and a yearning for agency. The Empire, for all its might, could not erase the memory of the rebellion or the ideals that drove it. The events on Kamino served as a precursor to the broader resistance movements that would later challenge the Empire. The seeds of rebellion, sown in the stormy waters of Kamino, would sprout across the galaxy in the years to come. The courage and sacrifice of the clones who fought on Kamino became a symbol of resistance against tyranny, inspiring others to rise against the Empire's oppression. Even in defeat, the spirit of the rebellion endured, echoing in the hearts of those who dared to dream of freedom. The rebellion also left a mark on the surviving clones, many of whom carried the scars of the conflict, both physical and emotional. Those who managed to escape imperial retribution found solace in the company of like-minded individuals or sought refuge in the Outer Rim, far from the Empire's reach. For them, the rebellion was not merely a failed uprising but a testament to their humanity and their refusal to be mere tools of war. Through their actions, the clones of Kamino demonstrated that even in a galaxy overshadowed by oppression, the fight for freedom and self-determination could never be fully extinguished. The clone rebellion on Kamino was not just a battle. It was a declaration of identity and purpose by those who had been denied both. In the annals of galactic history, it stands as a poignant reminder of the costs of tyranny and the enduring power of hope. The clone rebellion on Kamino, though suppressed, reverberated through the galaxy, leaving a complex legacy for both the clones and the Empire. The rebellion had illuminated many truths about the nature of the Galactic Empire and the challenges of relying on individuals bred for obedience yet capable of independent thought. For the clones, it marked the culmination of years of systemic exploitation and the realization that their identities extended beyond servitude. For the Empire, it was a wake-up call that underscored the dangers of allowing sentient beings, no matter how carefully conditioned, to populate their ranks. In the aftermath of the battle, the Empire sought to erase all evidence of the rebellion. Official records were either destroyed or rewritten to downplay the event, casting it as a minor insurrection rather than the organized, large-scale resistance it truly was. Propaganda portrayed the rebelling clones as rogue elements corrupted by Kaminoan interference, framing the Empire as the savior that restored order. The Kaminoans themselves, a species once pivotal to the galaxy's military might, were relegated to obscurity. Many were eliminated, their cloning expertise either confiscated or lost to history. For the clones who survived the rebellion, life became even more precarious. The Empire accelerated its transition to a conscription-based army, deeming clones unreliable. Clones who remained in service were relegated to menial or high-risk roles, often treated as expendable resources. Some were tasked with hunting down their own brethren who had defected during the rebellion, a cruel irony that deepened the rift within their ranks. However, many clones who had participated in the rebellion managed to evade capture. These fugitives scattered across the galaxy, with some joining emerging rebel cells or forging their own paths far from Imperial control. They carried with them not only their combat training but also a fierce determination to ensure their struggle on Kamino had not been in vain. These scattered groups became a quiet but potent force in the larger fight against the Empire, laying the groundwork for the rebel alliance that would later rise to challenge Imperial dominance. The psychological toll of the rebellion on surviving clones was immense. For some, the battle represented their first act of true independence, a moment when they fought not for orders or a republic but for their own freedom. For others, it was a harrowing experience that left them questioning their purpose and existence. Many clones wrestled with survivors' guilt, mourning fallen brothers who had fought valiantly only to face annihilation. The bonds forged during the rebellion were unbreakable, with those who survived becoming each other's support system in a galaxy that seemed indifferent to their plight. The Empire's victory on Kamino was a calculated effort to ensure such a rebellion could never happen again. New conscripts were conditioned through propaganda and fear, ensuring loyalty through ideological manipulation rather than genetic programming. Imperial forces also began to centralize control, with military bases and training academies spread across the galaxy to avoid reliance on any single facility or population. These measures reflected the Empire's growing paranoia and its awareness of the vulnerability exposed by the Kamino uprising. Yet, the rebellion left an indelible impression on those who witnessed or learned of it. To the citizens of the galaxy, particularly those who harbored resentment toward Imperial rule, the rebellion became a symbol of courage and defiance. Stories of clone soldiers standing against their oppressors spread through whispers and underground networks, inspiring others to question the Empire's narrative and seek their own paths to resistance. The rebellion also had a profound impact on the Jedi survivors of Order 66. Those who had managed to evade the Empire found renewed hope in the knowledge that not all clones had willingly embraced tyranny. For some Jedi, it softened the bitterness they felt toward the clones, rekindling a sense of solidarity against a common enemy. This fragile but significant understanding laid the groundwork for future alliances between the remnants of the Jedi Order and the growing resistance movements across the galaxy. Kamino itself, once a beacon of advanced scientific achievement, was left a desolate and broken world. Its oceans, once teeming with life and industry, were scarred by the battle. The destruction of Tipoca City and its cloning facilities marked the end of an era, leaving the planet as a haunting reminder of the costs of war and the consequences of Imperial greed. What few Kaminoans remained retreated into isolation, their culture and technology diminished, their role in galactic history reduced to a cautionary tale. In the broader context of the Star Wars galaxy, the clone rebellion on Kamino was more than a single event. It was a turning point that revealed cracks in the Empire's seemingly impenetrable facade. It exposed the fragility of systems built on oppression and the potential for even the most subjugated individuals to rise against their oppressors. For the clones, it was a moment of self-realization, a testament to their humanity and a declaration that their lives held meaning beyond service to a cause not of their choosing. While the rebellion ultimately failed to achieve its immediate goals, its legacy endured. It served as a rallying cry for freedom fighters across the galaxy and as a reminder of the sacrifices required to challenge tyranny. The clone rebellion on Kamino may have been a fleeting storm in the grand saga of galactic history, but its impact resonated far beyond the waves that crashed against Kamino's platforms. It was a storm that lit a spark, igniting the fire of rebellion that would one day consume the Empire itself.